Hi folks, thanks for joining me for this week's river tutorial, and it's quite a momentous day for me. This is the 2-year anniversary of since I started the YouTube channel, and this fly will be my 301st video. So I hope you enjoy it. It's a competition legal streamer. So without further ado, let's get into it. In the vise then is a Hanak H470 barbless hook. This one's at size 10. It's a jig wave. It's on a medium wire in black nickel. And I've coupled that with a tungsten bead from Hanak. It's 3.5 millimeters and it's a round slotted tungsten bead. Now, first thing I'm going to do is get a little bit of super glue onto the shank of the hook, as I'm going to be using the Semperfli Nano silk. It's at 12.0 and as you can see it's black. First thing I've got to do is spread the super glue up the shank and then just get a few wraps on. I'm going to make sure that my bead's seated correctly at the eye, and then once I've got a few wraps on and I'm happy that it's bedded on, I can just take away that waste. Now next I'm going to add some extra weight, and I'm going to be using some lead wire, and this is from Hens. It's 0.8, and how I'm going to do that is I'm going to slip it into the tungsten bead like so, and then get a few thread wraps around the wire. This helps me in two ways. It's giving me that extra weight, and it's also bulking up the body. Now I've got special scissors for cutting the wire. It's my old set here. I use it for wire and foam, and what I want to do is cut it well back from the bend of the hook, and I want to do it in a slanting motion like so, and that's just about perfect. Just put that wire to the side, and then what I can do is then finish coming around and down back onto the shank like so. Next I'm going to add my tailing fibres. What I'm using is some Comp Candy Marabou. This is the blackjack, and what I want to do is, here's a plume I've been working with. I want to take a thumbnail's worth. Doesn't need to be a big thick bushy tail. So I've got that off, and I'm just going to twist the end and cut away my waste. Yeah, 2 years, I can't believe it. It's been a hell of a ride, and I've got to thank all the folks that have subscribed. It really does mean a lot. It helps the channel grow, and it keeps me enthused to make more videos. So I've just caught that on like so, and when I was talking about competition legal, I was talking about the IFFA rules. So here in the UK we've got a governing body for competition fly fishing, the IFFA. The rest of the world obviously fish to FIPS, but in the IFFA the rules state that the hook should be no longer than 5/8 of an inch, and the overall fly should be 15/16 of an inch. Now FIPS mush, that's a whole different ball game, but that's a bag of worms to be opened later. I think we'd probably all be better served if we just had one set of rules to be worrying about. Anyway, that aside, I'm going to add in my rib next, and what I'm using for the rib is some Veniards number 27. I've already got a little bit off here. I just forgot where I put the spool, and I'm going to add that on. Catch that in. Doesn't need to be particularly neat. I've cut it in on my side, and then I'm going to bring my thread back to the base of the fly. Next then, for the body, I'm going to be using some Spectra dubbing. This is the Hens number 45, a shadow of its former self, I might add. I've got some of the original that I use for collars on bugs, and when I ordered this packet it's just completely different stuff. I don't know, maybe they had to switch suppliers or whatever, but it's definitely not the same as the original. So I'm just dubbing that on. Dubs quite well. And I'll get a nice even body coming up my fly. Just make sure you're covering the rib. I know I've tied it in on my side so you can't see it as well, but just make sure that's all covered. Then I can push that up and bring it up to the seat of the bead. Okay, so next, it's obviously quite a hackled fly, and I'm going to be using some hen hackle. I've got a cape here, and I've already pre-selected a feather, which I have cleaned the very bottom from, leaving a little bit of a stalk. Now, to get a grip of that stalk, I'm just going to add a tiny little bit of wax to my thread, and then I can catch that in. What I like to do is push the stalk into the slot of the bead, then catch it in. And once I'm happy it's where I want it, I can really clamp down hard on that. So far so good. Then we need a set of hackle pliers. Before I engage my hackle pliers though, I just want to pull my feather out so that it sits at a 90-degree angle from the shank. And I can see already the way it wants to sit, I'm going to have to go towards you so that I get the shape I want. Grabbing the tip, bring it round, and the first turn is almost on top of itself, and then what I can do is work my way up in open turns. Now as I go, I want to just encourage them fibres to open up with my fingers, and I'm going to judge it so that the tip comes just about where my wire is. Just helping it out with a few turns. As you can see, the feather's not particularly long. Then I brought the wire up, caught that in. I can just rest my hackle pliers now and then concentrate on bringing up the wire rib. And this is what's holding the hackle into place, so make sure you're quite firm with it. If you catch a few fibres in, don't be overly worried. You're still going to get bags of movement with this hackle. And then I'll bring that up to where my bead is and then lock it into place. A couple of turns in front, pull everything back out the way, a couple of turns forward. Now keeping tension on the thread, you can then twist your wire away. Like so. And the reason I didn't remove my hackle pliers is it's much easier with the hackle pliers attached to just bring your scissors in and remove that little bit of waste. And it is quite literally a little bit of waste. So there we go. We've now got pretty much a woolly bugger, I suppose, for want of a better description. And what I want to do now is just whip finish the nano silk off the fly. So I'll come with a whip finish tool, make sure all the fibres are out the way, and you can remove that. Just come in with a tip to remove your thread, and we're finished with a nano silk. So that's looking pretty good. As I say, you're going to get bags of movement with that hackle, and you'll get quite a bit of movement with the tail. Next then, I'm going to use Glo-Brite number 5. You don't have to use this, it's a nice orange, but there's lots of other colours available. Green works particularly well, but this is my favourite, the Glo-Brite number 5. So all I'm going to do is no wax, pull all the fibres back from the bead with my thumb and forefinger, and then I'm going to catch that in just at the bead there. Now once I've got several turns of the floss on, keeping tension on the floss, just pull your waste end away and it will come away quite cleanly. Then what I like to do is add a little bit of resin to my floss, and this helps. It doesn't always finish the fly nicely for you, but it does help when it comes to finishing. It just means you've got less varnishing or resin to put on when you finish the fly. Now I just done 3 turns there. I'm finishing it on my side. Then I'm going to come in with the scissors and just remove the waste there. Now first thing I'm going to do before I do anything else is give it a little zap to cure the UV resin that I already had on the floss. And then I'm going to come in again with my UV resin. Not very much of it. I've cleaned the brush with the rim and I'm just wanting to finish it by touching just around the edge with my resin. And once I've cured that off, I can cure it. And what I've got is a very, very effective, competition legal little mini lure. Now you can use a 4mm bead, that'll give you an extra bit of weight and obviously give you a bit more motion in the fly. But this can be, when you've been through a pool and you've tried wets and dries and bugging, this is always a great last option just to see if you can get that bonus fish. And it's pulled me out the fire more than once. As I said, thanks very much for watching, and thanks again for all the support over the last couple of years. If you're new to the channel, please think about clicking that subscribe button. I'd really appreciate your support.